Let's talk about something most of us think about every single day without really realizing it. The oil sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now, the one you reach for almost on autopilot when you're cooking dinner. It seems like such a small decision: olive oil or vegetable oil, a drizzle or a full pour, cold or heated. But over months and years, those small daily decisions add up to something that actually matters for your heart and your blood vessels. Before we get into the list, I want to say something important because this topic touches people's health directly, and I take that seriously. If you've noticed dizziness when you stand up too quickly, cold feet even when the room is warm, or heavy, achy legs at night, please don't brush that off as just getting older. Those can sometimes be early signs of circulation problems, and they deserve a real conversation with your doctor, not a home remedy, not a supplement, and not a cooking oil. Nothing in this video is meant to replace that visit. What good nutrition can do is support your heart over the long run as one part of a bigger picture that includes your doctor's guidance, your medications if you have any, and regular checkups. Think of food as one supportive layer, not a stand-in for medical care. With that in mind, let's walk through 7 oils that nutrition research consistently connects to better heart health, along with a few that are worth using more carefully or less often. Sesame oil has quietly been part of cooking traditions for thousands of years, especially across Asian and Middle Eastern kitchens, and it's easy to overlook it in favor of trendier options. But part of what makes it worth a second look is its antioxidant content. Sesame oil contains natural compounds, including sesamin and related lignans, that have been studied for their role in reducing oxidative stress in the body. Oxidative stress is essentially wear and tear at the cellular level, and over time, it's one of the contributing factors researchers look at when it comes to blood vessel health. Sesame oil also tends to hold up reasonably well under gentle to moderate heat, which makes it a practical option for light sautéing, rather than something you have to reserve strictly for cold dishes. That said, like any oil, it's still a concentrated source of fat and calories, so it's worth using in moderation. Most nutrition guidance suggests keeping it to somewhere around 1 to 2 tablespoons a day if it's a regular part of your cooking, especially if you're also watching your overall cholesterol or triglyceride levels. Used thoughtfully, alongside a varied diet, sesame oil is a reasonable and time-tested choice. Avocado oil has become popular over the last decade, and there's a genuine reason for that beyond marketing. It's rich in oleic acid, a monounsaturated fat that's part of the same fat family found in olive oil. Research on oleic acid has generally found that when it replaces less favorable fats in someone's diet, like heavily processed fats or excess saturated fat, it tends to be associated with a healthier overall cholesterol pattern. One practical advantage of avocado oil is its high smoke point, meaning it can handle higher cooking temperatures, like roasting or searing, without breaking down as quickly as some more delicate oils. That's genuinely useful if you want something for higher heat cooking that still fits a heart-conscious diet. It also tends to work well for people paying close attention to blood sugar and metabolic health, since swapping in healthier fats is often part of broader dietary advice for people managing insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. Though again, that should always be discussed with your own doctor or dietitian, since everyone's situation is different. This one is a bit more nuanced, and it's important to be honest about that rather than oversell it. Coconut oil is high in saturated fat, and most major heart health guidelines, including those from cardiology and nutrition organizations, recommend limiting saturated fat intake for cardiovascular health. So coconut oil isn't a straightforward, more is better oil, the way some of the others on this list might be. That said, it does have some distinct properties. It contains medium-chain triglycerides, a type of fat that the body tends to process and use for energy somewhat differently than other saturated fats. Some studies have looked at modest amounts of coconut oil and found associations with changes in HDL cholesterol, often referred to as the good cholesterol, though the overall picture in the research is mixed and still debated among nutrition scientists. Given that, a sensible approach if you enjoy coconut oil is to treat it as an occasional ingredient rather than your primary cooking fat, something like a teaspoon here and there, rather than a daily staple. If you have existing cholesterol concerns, it's worth asking your doctor specifically about how coconut oil fits into your diet. Garlic itself has a fairly solid body of research behind it when it comes to heart health. Multiple studies have looked at garlic's role in modestly supporting healthy blood pressure and helping maintain more favorable cholesterol levels, likely thanks to sulfur-containing compounds that form when garlic is crushed or processed. Garlic-infused oils let you bring some of that flavor and some of those compounds into everyday cooking without needing to eat raw garlic cloves, which, let's be honest, isn't practical for most people every day. A simple way to use it is in salad dressings, drizzled over roasted vegetables, or as a finishing oil rather than a primary cooking fat, since that helps preserve more of the delicate compounds. It's worth noting that store-bought garlic-infused oils should be used relatively quickly and stored properly, since garlic in oil can be a food safety consideration if it's homemade and not stored correctly. Something worth a quick search if you're making your own at home. Flaxseed oil is one of the richest plant-based sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a type of omega-3 fatty acid. Omega-3s have a well-established body of research behind them when it comes to reducing inflammation in the body, and chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the factors researchers look at closely in relation to blood vessel health and heart disease risk over time. The catch with flaxseed oil is that it's delicate. It doesn't hold up to heat well at all, and cooking with it can actually break down the beneficial fats and, in some cases, create less desirable compounds. Because of that, flaxseed oil is really best kept as a cold-use oil, stirred into a smoothie, mixed into yogurt, whisked into a salad dressing, or drizzled over a finished dish after it's off the heat. A tablespoon a day is a common recommendation, but as always, it's worth checking with your doctor, especially if you're on blood thinners. Since omega-3s can have mild blood-thinning effects of their own, this is, without question, the most extensively studied oil in cardiovascular research, and for good reason. Decades of population studies and more recently large randomized clinical trials have looked at olive oil's role in heart health, particularly through research on Mediterranean-style eating patterns. Across this body of work, regular olive oil consumption has consistently been associated with better cardiovascular outcomes compared to diets higher in refined or heavily processed fats. Part of what makes olive oil distinct is its polyphenol content, plant compounds that have antioxidant properties, and that researchers believe help protect cholesterol particles from oxidizing, which is thought to be one of the steps involved in plaque development in the arteries. Extra virgin olive oil, which is less processed than regular or light olive oil, tends to retain more of these polyphenols. Olive oil is also fairly versatile. It can be used for light to moderate cooking without losing all of its beneficial properties, though it shows its best qualities when used raw, drizzled over vegetables, mixed into a dressing with lemon juice, or added at the very end of cooking. Most guidance suggests around 1 to 2 tablespoons a day fits comfortably into a heart-healthy diet, and the research strongly suggests that consistency over time matters far more than any single serving. Neither of these oils is a miracle cure on its own, and I want to be upfront about that. But there's a reasonable case, based on how each of them works, for using them together as part of a daily routine. Flaxseed oil brings a concentrated dose of plant-based omega-3s, which are well studied for calming inflammation in the body. Olive oil brings polyphenols, which are studied for helping protect cholesterol and support the health of the cells lining your blood vessels. Used together, for example, a teaspoon of each mixed into a salad dressing, or stirred into a bit of warm water with a squeeze of lemon in the morning, you're essentially covering 2 different complementary angles of heart health in one simple habit. This isn't about a dramatic transformation or an overnight fix. It's a small, realistic addition to a broader heart-healthy pattern of eating, alongside vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and regular movement, and alongside whatever care plan you and your doctor have already put together. High heat frying causes oils to oxidize, and oxidized oils can actually work against you rather than for you. So, wherever it makes sense, gentler cooking methods, or using oils raw as finishing touches, tend to preserve more of their beneficial properties. Storage matters too. Oils generally do best in a cool, dark place, away from direct sunlight and heat, since light and heat both speed up the breakdown of the more delicate compounds inside them, and it's worth repeating, more is not automatically better. Even the healthiest oils are concentrated sources of fat and calories. For most people, a tablespoon or two a day, depending on the oil, fits comfortably into a balanced diet without adding excess calories or working against other health goals. Small, consistent amounts used regularly tend to matter more than occasional large amounts. Heavily refined vegetable oils and oil that's been reused multiple times for frying are generally worth cutting back on. Reused frying oil in particular undergoes chemical changes that produce compounds linked to more inflammation, and repeated exposure to those compounds over years is something most nutrition guidelines flag as worth minimizing. It's also worth being a little skeptical of packaging terms like light or cholesterol-free, since those phrases don't necessarily tell you much about how refined or processed an oil actually is. Looking for oils labeled cold-pressed or unrefined is generally a more reliable way to find oils that have retained more of their natural beneficial compounds. If there's one thing worth taking away from this, it's that the oil in your kitchen is a genuinely meaningful everyday decision, not because any single spoonful is going to transform your health overnight, but because these small choices, repeated day after day, are part of the bigger picture of how you take care of your heart over the years. This isn't about chasing trendy superfoods or expensive supplements. It's about steady, sensible choices in your own kitchen. If you want a simple next step, consider picking one oil from this list that you don't already use regularly and try incorporating it over the next week or two as part of your normal cooking. Pay attention to how you feel, but more importantly, keep up with your regular checkups and any guidance your doctor has given you. And if you're one of the people we mentioned earlier, dealing with dizziness, cold feet, or heavy legs, please make that appointment. That conversation with your doctor is the single most important step you can take. And nothing on this list is meant to replace it. Thanks for spending this time learning together. And take care of yourself. This video is for general educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your physician or another qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your diet, medications, or health routine